everyone. Welcome to my home and to my YouTube channel. I am Ellen Jimerson, your friendly neighborhood historian, liberation theologian, and cultural critic, degreed in all those areas. So, first of all, I want to let you know why it is that I have moved from Facebook, for example, and to YouTube, and it's because I learned something quite exciting during the Johnny Depp v. Amber Heard trial, which is that there are a whole lot of well-credentialed people qualified to speak on legal and other matters who were not only giving great commentary on the trial, but as I went back and looked further back into what they'd been up to, I saw that they had been giving very good commentary on the Kyle Rittenhouse trial. And this was really not only interesting to me, but encouraging, because for a long time, I've been an immigrant advocate since 2006 or thereabouts, and for a very long time, as have many people who are interested in border issues, we have become aware that mainstream media is not giving us anything like the information, the facts, and the analysis that we are entitled to and that we need. So on YouTube, I found a group that are sort of affectionately known as YouTube lawyers, or LawTube. I think that's what they call it, which is cute, right? LawTube. So anyway, one of the reasons I wanted to do this very quick introduction to myself is because I want to thank these lawyers and other commentators. One of the things I noticed about them is that each of them is well qualified to speak about these legal matters, and I have sort of picked up that some are what we might consider to be right of center in terms of their politics, maybe. Others would be left of center, I would think. Yet they all stay in their lane, which is legal commentary and commentary on trials. And they all reached more or less the same conclusions, which was that the mainstream media was not covering the Depp v. Heard trial well at all. And they were very helpful to me in understanding the trial in terms of what goes on in the courtroom, what these various terms mean. And so here are the lawyers, and the reason I mention them is because I want you, if you are also as interested in trials as I am, to go on over there, and at the bottom of this you'll see hashtags telling you their names, and you can find them very easily here on YouTube. And so in alphabetical order, I think. First of all is Emily D. Baker, and she has a couple of shows. I think one is called The Emily Show. Another one is called Coffee and Cursey Words, and she is a delight and very, very good at what she does. She is in Nashville. And this is another thing that interested me, is these lawyers are spread out everywhere. They are not part of some inner circle of so-called journalists who basically are all working for the same people and have a lot of supervision in what they can and cannot say. And that does not seem to be true at all for any of these lawyers. Okay, so Emily D. Baker. The next one I'm going to mention is Nate Brody. And the lawyers and other people on YouTube have handles, you know. I'm not sure I can come up with a very catchy handle. But Nate's is Nate the lawyer, and he's in New York. He is quite interesting to me on top of his legal analysis and commentary, which is very, very good. He's African American, and he is pushing back on the narrative that anytime a person makes a misstep in terms of political incorrectness or something like that, which turns into calling people racist. And I particularly noticed this, of course, with Kyle Rittenhouse. But he pushes back on those sort of knee-jerk obedience to our various established narratives. The third lawyer I want to mention to you, and please check out all these people, subscribe to them. Down here there is a little subscribe button, and when you go to their channels, you'll want to subscribe, then you want to hit the bell, and then mark all, so you get all of their notifications. And then, of course, do the same for me. Please like this video, and please subscribe. The next one is Andrea Burkhart, who is in California, and she has just done wonders. For one thing, if you're not familiar with trials, you may not realize that prior to the trial, there is a lot of discussion between the lawyers and the judge as to what the lawyers can bring in as evidence and what must be kept out. And this includes witnesses, documents, even certain words. I know a lot of people with the Kyle Rittenhouse trial were just dumbfounded and incensed that the prosecutor could not refer to victims, and there's a reason for that, and that judge was not alone in that. So Andrea, in addition to providing very good commentary on the trial, on how the lawyers were, their demeanor, and just their strategies. But she also, when Judge Ascarati in Fairfax, Virginia, released those records that had been not allowed in as evidence, when the judge released them, they were released to the public, but they were not they were not free, and there were 6,600 pages, and you had to pay 50 cents a page. Well, I was so interested in what the content of these documents was, but there's no way I was going to pay over $3,000. At least I was cogitating on it, but sure didn't want to. So she crowdsourced it and raised the $3,300, something like that, for those records, and then she published them on her site. So if you are as interested in a deep dive into this trial as I am, you will want to go over there and avail yourself of that. Another one is, and I'm not sure how he pronounces his last name, Kurtz. It's either Mueller or Mueller, but he goes by the handle Uncivil Law, and he is in Austin. And one of the things I noticed right away about Kurtz is that when he's going through the documents, particularly the release documents, he would go through line by line, which is something I really appreciate. On such things as he allowed us to participate with him when he was preparing for the bar exam for Texas. He's licensed in, I want to say Maryland, but has moved to Austin. And so it was very, very interesting to go question by question on the practice exam, the bar exam, and see what he saw the questions to be, and see what his reasoning was, and then whether he came to the right answer or not. But and then he did the same thing on the release documents. It's a line by line, and he's reading it with us. He hasn't gone through and sort of made up his mind about what's important, what's not important, that kind of thing. And as a historian, I really, really, really appreciate that. Then there is Daniel Shinsmith, and a frequent guest of his, Alan Robertshaw. They both are barristers in England. Shinsmith goes by the handle Blackbelt Barrister, and I suppose that's because he's a black belt in martial arts. But of course, if you know anything about the Depp v. Heard trial, you know that there was a trial prior to the trial in Fairfax County, which was in London, and was where Johnny Depp sued The Sun, which is a tabloid. And so Shinsmith has been able to very, very clearly outline for those of us who are completely not familiar with how the courts operate in England. He was able to really explain very clearly and very carefully the difference between how trials proceed there as opposed to here, and also pointing out the differences in the cast of characters. And also he was very unhappy with the judge's conclusion there, and he's very, very clear about why. Last but not least, and there are other lawyers too, but these are just the ones that I found to be very helpful. And there are many more out there. So, and these lawyers will clue you in to some others as well. Last but not least, Peter Tragos is, he calls himself the lawyer, you know. He's in Tampa. And he also is one of those who will go line by line by line, or listen to the entire deposition, for example, Amber Heard's deposition in 2016, and will just, wade through the whole thing with you and respond as to what he's seeing, what he's hearing. And so he's just wonderful. I mean, all of these lawyers are. Last but not least, there's a woman who is not a lawyer. She is a PhD, has a PhD in English literature, and she pretty much came at the trial from a feminist perspective, if I could summarize. Her name is Colonel Kurtz, K-U-R-T-Z, Colonel, C-O-L-O-N-E-L, K-U-R-T-Z. That is her handle. I don't actually know what her actual name is. But she, there again, she is one of those who made me feel like I wasn't so isolated and so alone in my thinking. But she has called, as I have, called into question the certainties of the Me Too movement, the excess, as you might say. She's very, very good. Anyway, I just wanted to mention those in this brief video, and I will be coming back to the Depp v. Heard trial in subsequent videos. And just to sort of summarize and maybe a little teaser, I want to say that I know a lot of people thought that the trial was just a couple of celebrities, entitled and so forth, who were engaging in a public spat. But I think it was a whole lot more than that. In terms of public interest, the trial is the most, has been the most invested in on terms of the public. Since the 1996 case of the people of California versus O.J. Simpson. And O.J. Simpson was about more than a case about murder. It was also about Americans' anxiety surrounding race. And so we saw that we had very different responses to the verdict, depending on what demographic a person was part of. And by the same token, Depp v. Heard is more than just a trial. It's more than a trial about defamation. It's about Americans' anxieties surrounding gender and gender issues and domestic violence, of course. But it was important. It was important because, as I see it, the trial, Depp v. Heard, was about the coming together of our sort of our common perceptions that the systems that govern our lives are letting us down. And those systems include government, journalism, the education, and I'm forgetting something else. But these things came together. I said government and politics, journalism, education. But it also, some of the issues that were involved were, and courts of law, of course. So backtracking, it was about our sort of public consensus that the system is not working for us, and particularly those aspects of the systems that I've named: government, journalism, courts of law, and academia. And Colonel Kurtz is another one who has done a lot on talking about the problems within academia. So, and then there were these issues that were highlighted, the Me Too movement, and this narrative that all women should be believed, not taken seriously, believed. And that is, on its face, just ridiculous. If you know anything about American history at all, if you know anything about race and women at all, I mean, am I the only one who remembered Emmett Till, for example? So the trial kind of, in terms of issues, highlighted that whole really, really bad part of the narrative, which is that we need to believe women wholeheartedly, without question, no matter who gets hurt. Another issue it highlights is the illusion of journalism with entertainment. And I mean, if you've been paying attention to either Fox or CNN, MSNBC, any of the mainstream organs, and then you listen to the lawyers here on YouTube, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that one set is involved in entertainment and the other set is involved in actual journalism. Another problem highlighted was the rise of the 501c charity industrial complex. And we saw this particularly with the ACLU, because the ACLU is the one organization that should have come to Johnny Depp's defense in terms of his civil liberties. Instead, it made a Faustian bargain, or a devil's deal, with Amber Heard. And it seems pretty clear to me that the main reason was money. So follow the money. Okay, I'm going to leave it there, and I will be coming back to Depp v. Heard and talking about these things in more detail in terms of the history behind these developments. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe little button down there, hit the bell, be sure to open it up and go to all so that you'll get all of my, you'll be aware of when I've posted content. And like this video. And go over and find these lawyers. They're awesome. Colonel Kurtz is awesome. There are other awesome commentators out there. And as I become aware of them, I will surely let you know. Alrighty, thank you so much for being here. And I look forward to talking with you later. All right, bye-bye.